Brandon Crow watching from Hockey Canada. Writes in and he says, my wife and her two sisters all played NCAA Division I hockey. They attribute it to waiting around that chute as kids and using those prairie oysters as hockey puck. Shooting them for the dog. Here's
Bingo!
one. All the raw testicles that I collected one day, I put them in a margarine container. Remember the old Imperial margarine that had the purple crowns around it? I put them all in there, and I took them to a party, a bush party. You've been there, Moose. You weren't at that one, but you've been to them. And I was going to cook them. I was going to cook them and make people eat them and not tell them what they were till after. But it didn't matter because Philip Kenyon took one, popped it in his mouth, crunched it raw. And he was smiling, and the blood ran down.
He knew what it was?
I will never forget. He knew what it was. Philip Kenyon.
That was Fear Factor before there was Fear Factor with Joe Rogan.
I know. Beer might have been involved. But the next time that we're driving to Montana, I'll show you exactly where it is, because a lot of stuff went down at that site. A lot of stuff. I'm not going to go any further, but just remind me later. I'll tell you about the bikers that were on their way back from Sturgis from the rally that stopped at our party.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was fascinated last week that Jerry was pounding Egg McMuffins like it was his job and dosing them with salt because he didn't care because he's 80.
How about that?
So what better, shrimp cocktail or Egg McMuffin? Don't waste our time. It's Egg McMuffin all day. And don't get me started about those puny little cocktail rings that you buy. They're disgusting. Egg McMuffin's good anywhere. That's right.
It's the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Rick Regan. Hello, everybody. Welcome inside the RP Show. We are broadcasting live on Game Plus Television. It's going to be a very good day today. Really good day. We're on WQEE Radio in Atlanta, and I got my Dirty Birds Falcons shirt on today. How about them? They're on a roll.
How about that?
And we're also on podcast and YouTube Live. Let's bring in Darren Moose DuPont. He's in Toronto, and he's ready to rock. How you doing, Moose? What's up with you in the last 22 hours? Did I miss something?
Get out of here
Anything?
with those. Get out of here with the Falcons this week. Get out of here. They play the Titans this week.
Gonna have our way. When I say we, I mean the Atlanta Falcons, right? Ryan O'Reilly, gonna have our way with the Tennessee Titans. It's funny you say that. Great foreshadowing there, because on Thursday Night Football, as we approach the midway point, kicking off tonight, it is the Buccaneers and the Bills. Very big game there. We're nearing the midway point of the NFL season. I want to get people's take on what are our generalizations. We're past the overreactions, I think. What are our generalizations and realizations of our favorite NFL teams in the season and all? But come a very big day today. Ted Nolan, as Moose knows, and a lot of our viewers, former NHL Coach of the Year, Ted Nolan will be joining us, of Buffalo Sabres fame, and he's got a new book out, Life in Two Worlds. Great work by Clark, the guest booker, to line this up with Ted Nolan and the book company, and we're very excited to hear from him. I've always been a fan of Ted Nolan's, and I know that Matthew Barnaby's a big fan of Ted Nolan's, and Matthew Barnaby is a good friend of mine. So any friend of Barney's is a friend of mine. He speaks glowingly of Ted Nolan in his book. We're excited about that. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario product coming up later in hour one. In hour two, TSN's Dave Poulin. I'm a very big fan of Poulin. He's been making the rounds, and he'll stop on this show to talk NHL today. Scott Barney, the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos, will be with us. Moose is going to be doing that interview as I have to adjourn a little later. So, yeah, it's a busy day. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? And we'll jump right into the topics. And it's interesting here. We got a little something for everybody. We continue to be the Golden Corral of sports talk. That's never changed. You know, Yeah, let me just jump into this topic. Now is not viewer takeover time, because I'm thinking about comments that came in from the viewers yesterday. A lot of my best retorts come hours later when I have a chance to think about it. But I'm going to start with this. Number one, the Texas Rangers and Arizona Diamondbacks took long, bumpy roads back to the World Series. But for both of these long-shot pennant winners, it's become part of their DNA. Texas hasn't played in the World Series since twice being within one strike of winning it in 2011 against the Cardinals. The Texas Rangers have never won the World Series, Darren, and the Diamondbacks are back on baseball's biggest stage for the first time since 2001. When Luis Gonzalez's ninth-inning single off Yankees closer Mariano Rivera in Game 7 earned the franchise its only ever title. 20 years? 22 years? Man, time flies, brother. And I'm wondering where Canada is, because that's the basis of our audience. We're on national television up there on Game Plus television, 31 states in the U.S., including this wonderful state of Florida. And I'm wondering if you're as into it or your circle, because I heard on the radio, I was just driving around yesterday, and I heard this, that the Rangers had never won a World Series. And I'm like, I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I would have thought that they had won a World Series. So all of a sudden, my interest has picked up. And it is our poll question today for Key Auto Group. Before I get Darren's point on this or thoughts on this is, are you into the World Series, into this World Series 2023? I got to be honest with you, I am. At the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. Put me down for a yes, brah. I'm into it, and I will be watching. I don't think I got anything else on Friday night when Game 1's on. We'll see how long that lasts. But for now, it's a yes for me, dog. How about you?
Yeah, for all the same reasons that you said, it's a yes for me, too. You know, I was a little disappointed that the Phillies never made it into the World Series, that they lost in Game 7 after going up early 2 games and then going up 3-2. Because I wanted to see Bryce Harper win a championship. He's been so good for the Phillies. He's been so good for baseball and hasn't won a championship. So I thought he, would have been great to see him in it. But you mentioned now, the Diamondbacks since 01. I'm like, man, it'd be great to see. They deserve it again. It's been a long time. And then you say Texas has never won. And, I've got some friends down there in that area in Texas that big baseball fans, too, probably going to be at the game. It'll be a lot of fun for them. So this is going to be great. And I think there's a lot of great storylines.
Well, see, we're a product of our environment, and we're spending way much more time on baseball than I normally would. But the reason I say we're a product of our environment, sports is a business, and we're in a competition. It's all one big game. So I was listening to Fox 640, Fox South Florida, and on the radio, the hosts were saying, the critics are saying there's no Yankees, there's no Red Sox, there's no Dodgers, there's no Braves. These aren't iconic franchises. America's not going to watch. And the guy was like, then why do we have any other teams then? The host. Do we not like the freshness of this and the opportunity to have a Texas Rangers team that's never won a World Series before? Quite to the hockey, to relating it, I think we were all really gathered in when the Washington Capitals were in the Stanley Cup final, or the St. Louis Blues, or the Vancouver Canucks, rooting for them. As soon as I heard the Rangers had never won a World Series, because I thought they had, I immediately perked up and thought, I'm into this. There's a story. Cares about the damn Yankees. Anyways, moving on. We're both saying yes. And I was sold because of what the hosts on the radio were saying. That's all it took. Free commercial right there for MLB. To point two, there are 6 Canadian teams taking to the ice tonight in NHL play. The Montreal Canadiens host Columbus. The Winnipeg Jets play at Detroit. The Ottawa Senators visit New York to face the Islanders, and the Toronto Maple Leafs make the trip south to face Dallas. Also tonight, the Edmonton Oilers welcome the New York Rangers, and the Calgary Flames host St. Louis. So let's just settle in on this NHL for a second, more than a second, and I will tell you that our hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We love them so much. Turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca because they know the best beer is the one that's earned. The official beer of the RP Show. Where do we start on this delectable buffet that is the National Hockey League? Oh, I don't. My brain just froze because there's so many things. I mean, that's just the Canadian teams. Seattle Kraken. Sorry, San Jose Sharks are in Tampa Bay. Seattle Kraken are at Carolina. There is the breaking news today. I'm not as interested in this as everybody else. The NHL has suspended Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators for. You must have seen the notification.
Yes.
Something involving gambling. I looked at that and I'm like, oh, sucks to be him. Moved on. I know this will be the flavor of the day story across Canada and NHL circles in the States, but I don't really care. The guy broke the rules. He'll get suspended, and he wasn't playing anyway, so that's what I had to say about that. You?
What was the suspension? 41 games, I think was the number. So
41.
For me, yeah, extremely significant suspension in terms of the length, but this is the first suspension for gambling in league history. So, I mean, bravo to the NHL for coming out, I think, and saying, you know, we're taking it seriously and we're going to give a big suspension right out of the gate. And hopefully this is a non-issue moving forward. Sending a message right away and we move on. I don't know that there's much more outside of that. They handled it well. Broke the rules.
That's not even, that's the breaking news today. I don't want to spend any time on this. I saw one commentator write on Twitter that Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky are in gambling commercials, and you're suspending Shane Pinto for allegedly gambling. I'm confused. So the NHL and pro sports have not quite yet figured out how to navigate around the gambling issue. So again, sucks to be Shane Pinto. To be honest with you, like anybody that gets in trouble, you did the crime, you got to pay the time. Hopefully you learn from it. Now, so moving on. Today, one of my favorite activities is rowing. I row 7.5K almost every day, which it's not a lot, but it's 30 minutes to do that, and I feel great afterwards. And I've been putting on NHL radio, listening to it, and I really love it. Scott Laughlin, obviously Gord Stellectricity, who's not returning our messages to come on this show. For whatever reason, I've never met the guy. And Bruce Boudreau, they were all on together. And they were talking about some interesting things in the NHL. And one was that the Edmonton Oilers, the other night in Minnesota, took 3 too many men penalties. And I've seen you probably are aware of this because you live in Canada. I'm sure everybody's talking about it. And by the way, if anything tickles your fancy as we roll along here, write us, 902-518-3033, 902-518-3033. To follow along with our discussion. For EMJ Marketing, they'll provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Contact Joe there at emjmarketing.com. Looks like me and Cale McCarr are coming to Lethbridge next summer for an event, so I can't wait for that. Trying to stay on topic here. So they put it to Bruce Boudreau. This is why, folks, you do need analysts or a very good host, because Scott Laughlin and Gord Stellick couldn't figure out why would you take 3 too many men penalties. And my thinking, before I even heard Bruce Boudreau on there, was that their heads simply aren't into it. I don't know why, but that's a mental thing. That is no more than a mental thing. And Boudreau took it one step further and said they're too distracted on the bench. He would know. He's been on all the benches and seen how things have changed. You know how when he said they're distracted, I thought he meant by things going on in the arena, because I have heard that from coaches. There's so much going on in NHL arenas now that the players do get caught looking in the. But no, it's not that. Boudreau said it's the iPads. They're too busy going over their last shift. Oh, I'm up. Oh. Miss your line change or just somehow screw it up. That's how technology has one reason how it screwed up the game. That was Boudreau's explanation, and who knows whether he's right or not, but he'd have a far better opinion than any of us. How do you feel about that?
You know, he would know, and I would first thought I'd be like, wow, that's interesting. And B, there needs to be a system for that. I mean, obviously you need to communicate better. Every team's looking at video on the bench. Every team's got the iPads out, but that's the only team that had 3 too many men penalties in one game. Hasn't been an issue for anybody else, I would say. I would say that's an Oiler problem to figure out how to manage this better and be more effective with it.
Yeah, well, fair, but they're the ones that got caught. You know, that's as a guy that's gone to multiple SGI, that's Saskatchewan Government Insurance Sponsored Driver's Education classes as an adult. I could find every reason in the book why I sped. If you looked at my driver's abstract, it was speeding. And I always had an excuse. But what was it? Everybody else can comply with a speed limit. Why can't you, Rod? Well, because I'm special. No, you're not. Whack. I actually used to believe that I was. I know now that I'm not. But no, so what you're saying is the other 31 teams can comply. Why can't the Edmonton Oilers? Well, it's exactly what you're saying, and you're right. That's if Boudreau's right. And I think that he is right. I mean, that's one reason why people wonder why we don't do more coverage of football, because I spent so much time, have spent so much time in the CFL, but I never played football. With hockey, I had Sportsnet actually said to me this. I was thinking about this the other night. You know this. You're about the only guy that knows, other than members of my family. I fiddled and farted around with networks and teams in the NHL for a long time. When the time was right for them, it wasn't for me. When it was right for me, it wasn't for them. But Sportsnet said, you can do it all, man. You can be the analyst. You can do the play-by-play. You can host a panel. You can do it all. And I'm like, yeah. But I was feeding a family of 5, and I couldn't live and support them on what they were offering. So I had to say no. But now that's why I'm enjoying analyzing it now, because I'm not at that point in my life. JP writes in 902 text line, whereas he's in Courtenay, BC. He says the Oilers need to play as a team, and that's the bottom line. And JP also says, he goes, you guys need to add some smoke to your show. Bring back Sid 60. JP, if you think that our show's lacking something, I encourage you not to watch. Sid 60 is a good friend of mine. We worked together at the Score 20-some years ago, but the way Sid does things isn't the way that I do things. So if you think we're lacking because we need to bring on Sid 60, I suggest you go around the corner and give yourself a spanking. We're not changing anything. But thank you. You know what you need to do? Oh, I don't have time for that, not only today, Darren, or ever again. Because just imagine, I say it many times. I walked into McDonald's. Hey, this is what you guys, I can't even get it out of my mouth with a straight face. This is what you guys need to do with your burgers, McDonald's. You know what they would do? There's the frickin' door, loser. So thanks, JP, but keep your comments for how we could improve the show to yourself. Having said all that, Rick Sawatsky writes in and says, great show. Looking forward to Ted Nolan's book. See? Ryan in New York. This is interesting. He says, happy Thursday, Rod Squad. I'm switching things up and watching on Game Plus today. I hope you and the squad have a great day and enjoy whatever sports you watch tonight. Yes, the state of New York, Altus Cable, we're very big in the Empire State on Game Plus television, where I believe Anthem Sports, our parent company, has head offices there in New York. Anyways, I'm not done with the NHL topics yet. This guy derailed me. We got NFL notes to get to, a few CFL, Raptors, and did you know that the MLS playoffs have begun? Lots to talk about. We'll be right back. We are live on the aforementioned Game Plus television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP show continues, and as always, the text line is open, or at least it's open for these 2 hours that we're on the air. I don't check it when we're off the air. Sorry to disappoint you. 902-518-3033, and the Edmonton Oilers, as we mentioned, home to the St. Louis Blues. Sorry, they are home to the Rangers tonight. Why did I write down the Blues? The Blues are in Calgary. Anyways, I'm in South Florida, as you see. Darren's in Tirana. And Jim Sjogren in Osoyoos, BC, writes in regarding the Oilers. And he says, the Oilers need Grant Fuhr. I forgot he's 61 years old, but he'd still be their best goalie. Pa-dum-bum. Got a sound effect for that guy? Yeah, thank you. The show, he needs to understand, Darren, as you know, and the regular members of the Rod Squad know, it moves fast. It bangs, baby. We addressed this yesterday. You guys want to talk about that the Oilers goalies suck? We addressed it yesterday. Darren, I don't want to be that show that sits and talks about the same thing every day. Am I right or wrong in that thinking, do you think? And maybe I'm the one that's out to lunch. I don't know. Very good chance of that.
Yeah, we could. We could sit and talk about it every day, and it would be great. Oiler fans would love it. I think the rest of the league wants talk about every team. So we do have to budget our time. We only have 2 hours a day. Like you say, we could talk 2 hours on that. We could talk 2 hours on Thursday Night Football tonight. But we do have to budget the time and try and get as much out of this show and get as many people involved and interested in what we're talking about.
That's why it's so refreshing and nice what we do. We don't spend a lot of time on all these topics. But I also understand, because I've seen our numbers in Western Canada, just what you just said. But it's not a goaltending issue. And to be honest, I had a guy write me about Grant Fuhr. Bill is his name, and he's in Winnipeg. And he just said, well, you know, Grant Fuhr had a goals against average over 4.00. That wouldn't win him any games in today's NHL. Well, guess what, bro? He's not playing in today's NHL. And I have talked to Grant Fuhr about it. And he laughed. He laughed. So Bill from Winnipeg, it's not like you're doing anything wrong, because I asked the same question, and I said, watch your toes, Darren. I'm going to drop some names here. I was hanging out with Fierzy one time, and Martin Brodeur, and I said, Fierzy, you had a pretty lofty goals against. He's like, I'm in the Hall of Fame. I've got 5 Stanley Cups. Who cares? It's about winning. And that, to take it one step further, it's the fantasy football that I just can't get into. Good morning, Allie from Texarkana. I just can't get into the fantasy stats because it's so different than what coaches and GMs actually measure the players on. It's wrong. I look at college football with these gargantuan point spreads going into Saturday, where college teams are expected to win by 30 points over their opponent. If they don't win by 30, they're looked at as a failure. And they'll slide in the rankings. Do you know what I mean? And nobody cares. Right. Do you think the one thing that I did hear on NHL radio this morning with Laughlin and Boudreau was that Jay Woodcroft is trying to instill a defensive system in Edmonton, and that it's not going over too well. Well, no guff. I can sit here and talk about that, and I don't know. I guess Woodcroft had said that, or maybe the guys said it by watching them practice. Here's the thing. Playing defense isn't fun. You know that, Darren. I can't speak for the football side of things, but in hockey, it's hard. Taking away the middle of the ice in your own zone, keeping the front of the net clear, that's hard. They're used to being thoroughbreds. It's secretariats going at it at the other end, scoring. That's fun. Playing defense ain't fun. But Woodcroft realized last year, why did they lose to the Vegas Golden Knights? I was talking to a guy in Vegas today. He's like, are the he's not with the Golden Knights, but he's in Vegas, and he looks at he's a football guy. He doesn't know hockey, but he's like, do we have that many stars on our team in Vegas? I'm like, no, you don't. Kelly McCrimmon, I've known him since I was 16. He's spread his money throughout the lineup to get the best depth at all positions, and we didn't even know who Aiden Hill was even a year ago. And he wins the Stanley Cup for Vegas. So you don't see them whining in Vegas that they don't have a star goalie. Do you have any thoughts on that?
They were on their 5th or 6th goalie. You're right. Like, as an offensive player, every time you only have a limited number of shifts. Like, if you're at the top of your game, you're playing 20, 22 minutes a night, right? You only have X number of shifts, and every shift is a chance to go out and score a goal. It's really tough as an offensive player to say, I'm going to come in below the hash marks and play defense, and I'm going to have a defensive shift, and I'm not going to try and score this shift. That's really hard for those guys to do. They're kind of waiting at the blue line. Can I go yet? Can I go yet? Can I go yet? Can I go yet? Give me the puck, because I want to go score. They don't really want to come back down and play defense. They want to be the guy who gets the pass and goes up the ice. So it's a big shift. It's going to take time if they're going to move to a defensive system for it to instill. But when they do, Edmonton hopefully will turn the corner.
Oh. Great analysis by you. And if I may, great analysis by me. And my mind went down 3 different roads. Yeah. One is on the Sid Sixero thing. The guy wants Sid Sixero to be a guest on our show. And I love Sid, but he's an angry Leaf fan. It's like, you don't have enough angry Leaf fans on the air everywhere? You need to put them on here? There's enough angry Leaf people out there. Steve Dangle leading the list of those. I appreciate that. But listen, I do the talking. You do the watching. JP in Courtney, BC. So that's one. Of course, then my mind just went off track here again. Calgary. I love it. And Edmonton, too. Any city. But I'm just watching what's coming out of Calgary. They're just dumping on Huberdeau. Can I say one thing? It's a little like the Chicago Bears. And I don't want to tick off the Flames. We've got a great relationship with them. And a little of this has more to do with the media and the fans than it does the actual Flames themselves. But Tkachuk, not that he had a bad time in Calgary. He was an all-star 100-plus point player. But he comes to Florida and flourishes. He's the face of the franchise. Gaudreau wanted out there, and he was a star. Huberdeau was, we talked about this yesterday, here in Florida was almost the face of the Panthers. He was the longest-serving Panther. I think he was heartbroken that he was traded. Jacob Markstrom had this wonderful season in Vancouver, so the Flames threw all this money at him. Was it $6 or $7 million a year? And he hasn't been the same guy since he's got there. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? And that is star players go down the toilet when they come to Calgary, and when star players leave Calgary, they flourish. But you want to sit there and point the finger at the players all the time. And Toronto might have a little to do with that, too, in terms of that they haven't won a Stanley Cup. But I'm just saying, I'm just sitting there. They're lighting all these players on fire with the Calgary Flames. I'm like, you guys don't see it. It's like Chicago with the Bears. They're trying to do that to Justin Fields. They're saying he's the problem. The problem was in Chicago long before Justin Fields showed up. The problem was in Calgary long before Jonathan Huberdeau showed up. They're saying Kadri looks like he wants to go back to Colorado. You know what? He probably does. What do you think about that?
I'm a big believer in situation and environment. And player X has success in location A, but doesn't have success in location B. Why is that, right? He didn't forget how to play hockey overnight. Something changed. And what changed? The environment changed. So sometimes the environment gets better, sometimes it gets worse. Some people like working from home, some people like working from the office. If you figure out where you're not productive and why you don't like to work there, then you need to examine what is it about that environment that is not right for me. And it could be, stuff in the city. It could be stuff within the rink. It could be stuff within the staff. It could be stuff within the locker room. It could be a million different things, but you need to examine why it's not working. These players don't just forget how to play hockey overnight.
No, but they can't see it because they're in the forest. And I get out of the forest. I like to go in and out of the forest. It's the best place to be. It's the best view. John Ohm says, I'm a happy-go-lucky Winnipeg Jets fan. Yeah, you're happy when they're winning, like every other fan. Which, by the way, Mark Chipman was interviewed the other night and said that the Jets aren't leaving. I'll say this again. What's he going to say? From Jamie watching in Cold Harbor, Nova Scotia, the home of Sidney Crosby. Jamie says, the Bears are underachieving. A topic for Tori Gurley on Football Friday. Yes, we'll get him on. And the third road that I was going down was this. I finally figured it out, as you know. Serena and I host the Cats and Bolts podcast where we talk Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning. Because I know the audience in Canada doesn't care about those teams. But I also know the audience in Florida does. So I put it out to the audience today, Darren. What do you want to talk about? What do you want Serena and I to talk about on the Cats and Bolts podcast, which we're taping later today? Do you know what the topics were? How come John Cooper's never won Coach of the Year? Which incidentally Ted Nolan has, and he'll be with us next segment. Is the Battle of Florida still a thing? Because we're not hearing a whole lot about it, and the Panthers and Lightning don't play again until December 27th. Is it still a thing? How do you feel about Matthew Tkachuk's goalless drought? We talked about this yesterday. Can you imagine if Chucky was still in Calgary and went 6 games to start the season without scoring? They'd be lighting him on fire, too. Here, nobody knows or cares. Meanwhile, he's skateboarding to the rink and happier than a pig in slop. So, yeah, we're doing that later on today. Now, again, this is why I don't go through all the topics in the opening warm-up here. Save some for next hour. And there are questions coming in from the audience, but we can't get to those. We don't have time here. We'll push them till later. Point 3, the Buffalo Bills host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight. And Thursday Night Football, the Bills have gone 4-3 so far, coming off a loss to the lowly New England Patriots. The Bucs, meanwhile, have lost 2 in a row. They're 3-3, trying to avoid going below 500. So these are 2 teams that need a win tonight. Do you have a thought on this game? I'll be watching a little bit of it tonight, but there's a lot of, I think, better NHL games on that I'll be watching. It's pretty marquee. Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield. Maybe worthwhile watching.
Yeah, it is. I know that Buffalo at betregal.ca is bigger, the favorite. And I believe it's by, is it 6.5 or 8.5 that Buffalo's favored? But either way, I look at who wants it more, right? Who needs the win more? And to be honest, you said it. They both need a win. But I think Buffalo needs it more because I think the expectations in Buffalo are higher than they are in Tampa. And coming off of the loss they had to a division rival in New England, I think Buffalo needs a bounce back. to show not just the fan base and the league, but people within that locker room that they're for real and they're serious about this season. So I think it's a lot on the line for Buffalo.
Bills, 9.5-point favorites tonight over Tampa Bay at Bet Regal. I got the app right here. Deal or no deal?
I'll take the deal for the reasons I mentioned. They need it more.
Wow. How about you, Joe Lazito, the biggest Bills fan I know? I'd like to know whether he's taken the deal or not. Quickly, CFL, because as somebody has told me, the only people that care about the CFL is Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. I understand that, but that's also our top 2 cities for viewership. So I got word today, Jason Shivers will interview to become the next coach of the CFL Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers announced their roster for Friday night's meaningless game at Calgary, final game of the regular season. Zach Caleros will not start for the Bombers. We'll see you in hour 2, Moose.
See you then.
On the way today, Dave Poulin of TSN, also Scott Barney, the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos. But next, Ted Nolan to talk about his new book, Life in Two Worlds. Stick around. We'll be right back on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues, broadcasting from South Florida. Panthers off today, but the Lightning home tonight to the San Jose Sharks. Again, San Jose will try to get their first win of this NHL season. Can't see it happening tonight. Well, I'm going to tell you our next guest I'm a longtime fan of. Can we bring him on the screen? Ted Nolan, an author now, Life in Two Worlds. We all know the... Listen, Ted, I only know the hockey Ted Nolan. And I should first say that Matthew Barnaby's a very good friend of mine. He loves you, so if you're a friend of his, I got to say you're a friend of mine. And I've been wanting to chat with you for years. Well, thank you for the time, Ted. And I just want to say, what is up with you? What's going on in the life of Ted Nolan, the book and everything else?
Well, first of all, Rod, thanks for having me on. Things have been really good for the last number of years. I hooked up with my son, Jordan, just left the room here a while ago. He was lucky enough to win a couple of cups with LA, and Brandon, my oldest boy, he played with Carolina for a little bit. So together we created a three Nolans hockey program. And what we go into, a lot of remote First Nation communities here in Canada, kind of like your Native Americans in the States. But we go into a lot of underprivileged communities and do some schools with them and other places also. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What's the number one sport in those First Nation communities? Because I know there's a lot of lacrosse players coming out of there. Is hockey rival lacrosse or is hockey number one?
Well, in Southern Ontario, lacrosse, I think it's a little bit ahead of hockey, but not too much. But hockey's it's prevalent sport. In here, one of my childhood best places to play, we created this little NHL league. It was called the Little Native Hockey League, and it was created in early 70s. And I was on one of the first teams to ever participate. And the reason for it, because a lot of our players like myself went into cities to try to play on teams, but for whatever reason, we weren't able to play and get that experience of traveling with the team, staying in a hotel. So what our elders did at the time is they created this little NHL tournament. And so that was brings back a lot of, but hockey is a huge sport in our First Nation communities.
What are you teaching most? Hockey skills, life skills, or a combo of both?
Well, the hockey is the trick to get them there because they all love hockey. But once we get them there, we really talk about the importance of education, the importance of believing in yourself and achieving goals. It doesn't matter where you're from and how much money you have. It's that will and desire inside that's going to dictate who you, and just a strong belief in who you are. And I'm not too sure if you heard too much about the residential school situation that happens here in Canada, but it's really, really big. So a lot of trauma from the past. It's kind of generational trauma that's been passed down. So to go in and have a little shed of light to bring in a little bit of hope. So when they see a person like me who's lived the exact same environment that they did, maybe it'll be an inspiration. Then all of a sudden you see my two sons and others doing some magical things. So it's just a way to give back and to inspire.
I would tell our producers in Atlanta and Toronto, boys, this interview might go a little long. I won't keep it too long, Ted, but I got so much to say. I'm a licensed mental health and addiction recovery coach, so I know that DNA holds trauma in it. In the First Nations communities, number one in that. So trust me, I know that. So I guess my next thing for you is I think of you as an overcomer, longtime junior hockey guy here, and I worked in the CFL too, but I look at your resume, Memorial Cup winning coach and coach in the National Hockey League, played in the National Hockey League. You are an overcomer. When did you realize that you were overcoming all these things? Because I'm guessing in life you were just doing it. You didn't realize you were knocking these barriers over, or maybe you did.
I'm glad you brought up mental health, because a lot of the situation I was born into a large family, a family of 6 sisters and 5 brothers, and times were kind of lean at the time. But the one thing that I really enjoyed doing to get away from all the chaos once in a while was to play hockey. I made my own rink in my backyard. Learned how to skate on skates that were size 8. My feet were size probably 3 or whatever. But anyway, I just fell in love with the sport, and it just kind of took me away from everything. And the more and more I played it, the better I got, and had better opportunities. I went out, tried out with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds when I was 16 years old, and next year, playing alongside with Wayne Gretzky on that same team. So the more you see, the more opportunities it just created. And then, but coaching is one of those things that I never really planned on doing. It just kind of fell in my lap. I was so tired of the sport when I did retire, when I was 26 years of age because of a back injury. I was just so tired of fighting all the time, trying to overcoming some of the name calling, and especially with how the situation ended up in Buffalo. It was just god awful. So to get involved with coaching after my playing career was a blessing.
Yeah, well, you're skimming the top of it. And I want to say this. I worked in the Western Hockey League for 20 years. I have never found a guy that would say a bad word about Ted Nolan. Like that Buffalo thing, I don't know what happened. Barney doesn't even really seem to know what happened. Barney, people love you, Ted. I don't know what happened. But have you realized at some point everything happens for a reason? Have you reconciled that or not?
No question. Like I said, I think we all go through certain things too, and even this book. I never chose to write a book. I wanted to bury what happened in the past, and not having answers to what happened myself. So, but I did an interview a couple years ago, and I did it on Truth and Reconciliation. And halfway through the interview, I just got so emotional. Like the emotion just kind of poured out of me, and it kind of flashed back when I was a kid going through what I went through, and then junior hockey going through, and minor pro, and then all of a sudden in Buffalo, and all those things just kind of flooded out. And then someone from Penguin Books saw the interview, thought it would be an interesting story to tell. And I was sure glad they reached out, because it's more than just a poor boy makes good story. It's about acceptance, about understanding of different races and who we are and where we come from. Because everybody just assumes that they know about people, but they really don't.
Was it cathartic for you, therapeutic in a way to do this?
It was very, very therapeutic, because we start off the book by me kicking the Jack Adams trophy downstairs, and you hear the metallic sound, but at the time I was in a very dark place. I was frustrated. I was angry. I didn't know how to release some of the anger, because I never talked to a mental health specialist before. Then going through the reasons they let me go in Buffalo, and people started believing all this stuff. I was drunk at practice. I got the general manager fired. I was only 30-something years old. How am I going to do it? I'm a second-year coach. Those type of things just it really. And I turned down a 3-year contract, and so I just held all this stuff in, and I knowing it's all untrue. So when they wrote me, so it was a great therapeutic thing to release and say, no, I didn't turn down a 3-year contract. No, I didn't get the general manager fired. No, I didn't show up to practice drunk. So it was just very therapeutic. And that one probably hurt the most, Rod, is the drunk at practice, because it's kind of derogatory against our people that were drinkers. And my mother was tragically killed by a drunk driver when I was only 21 years of age. So I spoke out against drinking and drunk driving and all that stuff. So to hear that comment, that's one that probably hurt the most.
I don't know why people say these things, and we have no control over them, obviously, but they do so much damage. And you asked if I knew about the residential school thing. I knew about the Cowessus, which is 40 miles outside of Regina, but when the Kamloops came up, I was golfing the next day with Chief Edmund Bellegarde, and he was on the tee, and I turned and I said, Edmund, did you know? And he looked at me, he goes, I knew. They knew. You know what I mean? Did you know?
We knew.
This stuff?
We knew about it So, that's why, even to this day, I'm very sad. I don't speak our language fluently. I know enough to get by, but our parents didn't want to teach us the language, because they didn't want what happened to the kids who spoke the language, what happened to them. We've heard so many horrific stories what happened at the residential schools. So they really took a back seat on really trying to protect us. And so that still hurts. But, just some of the stories that we heard over and over again our whole lives. And then finally, when the truth started coming out, now the rest of the world is really starting to realize what happened at these institutions. You can't even call them schools. But whatever happened to them, I went to a day school, and the day schools was probably just as bad, but we got to come home at nighttime.
Well, I've done extensive work with the First Nations community in mental health and addiction recovery. So, you get my number, please, Ted, from your PR person or our producer. And if you need anything, you let me know. And I cannot wait to get my hands on this book. I mean it, man. I can't find anybody that would say a bad word about you, Ted. So I hope things are good, and I really appreciate the time today.
Oh, Rod, right now is probably the best I've ever felt my entire life, as far as mentally, and just getting over it and speaking to some people from the mental health. It's a real tough situation to go through. But the bottom line, when I put that pair of skates on, the only thing I want to do is just play. And when I started coaching, the only thing I wanted to do was coach. And if they said I wasn't a very good player, that's fine. If they said I wasn't a very good coach, that's fine. But when you start making up situations to get rid of somebody, that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, you look great, but you always look great, Ted. You know that. Thanks again, and keep in touch.
Thanks, Rod.
Championship player and coach Ted Nolan, and now author, and I'm sure pretty soon to be best-selling author. We'll be right back with a sports update and audience takeover. On the way, Dave Poulin and Scott Barney. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
RP Show continues. We're going to get into a sports update here right away. Some nice plaudits and kudos coming in from Fake Gainer on Twitter. Says nothing but respect for that interview with Ted Nolan. Powerful. What a story. Holy. Beyond sports. Oh, I agree. From Jason in Red Deer, he says, great interview with Ted Nolan. Janelle in Saskatoon says, I had the privilege to meet Mr. Nolan. He was the kindest man. I also love wearing my 3 Nolans clothing. Troy in Toronto says, Ted was so transparent, genuine, and honest. I am sure his book is riveting. Please have him back soon, not just as a hockey guy, but as a source knowledge and experience as a First Nations leader. Oh, yeah, we'll be doing that. I can't stress this enough. I've been in hockey my whole life, and nobody that knows Ted Nolan has a bad word to say about him. We can never figure out why they blackballed him coming out of Buffalo. And I still don't know. And clearly nor does he, but he's over it. He's said hockey gave him a way out, but then he saw the ugly side of the game too. Oh, man. Nothing but respect for that guy. A sports update on this Thursday. Zach Collaros won't be in the running for a 3rd straight CFL Outstanding Player Award. The Winnipeg quarterback has won the honor the last 2 years, but his teammate Brady Oliveira earned the Blue Bombers nod Wednesday for this year's award as CFL MVP. The 5'10", 222-pound Oliveira, a Winnipeg product, is the CFL's rushing leader with 1,498 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was a unanimous choice as Winnipeg's top Canadian nominee. Around the division, CFL passing leader Vernon Adams of the BC Lions, Edmonton quarterback Trey Ford, Calgary receiver Reggie Begelton, and Riders linebacker Larry Dean were the West Division Outstanding Player nominees. In the East, Toronto quarterback Chad Kelly, Hamilton wide receiver Tim White, Montreal receiver Austin Mack, and Red Blacks running back Devontae Williams were the East Division selections. The sports update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing, the high-quality beer behind great conversation and unforgettable memories. Visit commoncrown.ca. Last minute of play in hour 1. Wayne in BC says, that was a wonderful interview. I was mesmerized by Ted Nolan. What a great man. From Da Rider fan writes in, good day, Rod. From the 204, go Jets, go, versus Detroit tonight. Swerve says, Ted for next coach of the Flames. Are we there now? That's where we are? Anyways, lots to get into with Moose next hour, plus Dave Poulin and Scott Barney coming up after this brief pause on the Game Plus television network. WQEE Radio, podcast, and YouTube Live. And please don't forget to get your questions in during the break. 902-518-3033 in the EMJ Marketing text line. We'll be back after this brief pause.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was fascinated last week that Jerry was pounding Egg McMuffins like it was his job and dosing them with salt because he didn't care because he's 80.
How about that?
So what better, shrimp cocktail or Egg McMuffin? Don't waste our time. It's Egg McMuffin all day. And don't get me started about those puny little cocktail rings that you buy. They're disgusting. Egg McMuffin's good anywhere.
That's right. It's the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Rick Regan, and welcome to Hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. I'm telling you what, my phone is blowing up with comments on the Ted Nolan interview from Hour 1. If you were just checking in here on Hour 2 of the RP show, daytime sports talk on Game Plus TV, WQEE podcast and YouTube Live, you're going to want to go back and watch that. Is Moose with us now? Darren Moose Dupont? They told me he was not, but he's here now. Thank you. So Fake Gainer was writing earlier, Moose, on Twitter saying how great the interview was. And Fake Gainer has written back and says, honestly, I listened to the show while working. You can always listen live at WQEE's website. I tweet it every day. He says, this was one of those interviews where I totally stopped what I was doing. That segment got deep AF. Deep as you know what. And that's the thing. I said to you guys, somebody's going to have to cut the clips, pull the clips, the highlights of that, because I wasn't spacing, but I wasn't sitting there thinking, this would make a good clip, that would make a good clip. We're talking about residential schools, and did you know about the atrocities committed in these residential schools with Native children? Not only that, and him being blackballed in Buffalo. And I'll say it again, like I'm old, man, which I'm okay with because it gives me knowledge. And when I was just getting into the dub, that was right in Ted Nolan's hot time in junior hockey, right when he was going to the Memorial Cup every year with Sault Ste. Marie. They didn't always win it. One year they did. But Ted Nolan was the hottest thing in hockey, junior or pro. And he ends up going to Buffalo. Coach of the Year. You wrote that or read that article on this new book, his new book, Life in Two Worlds. I can't wait to read it. And I don't know if you watched that interview or not, but I was like, I've been waiting decades to even talk to the guy, let alone interview him. So I was getting a lot out there, man. That was awesome. Thank you, Clark, for lining it up.
Yeah, really cool. It's cool how you can, when you can have the opportunity to get deep like that. And, can't wait to read the book. Obviously, there's a lot of great stuff in there. And, yeah, I mean, it's one of those curious stories because he's such a great coach. And my understanding, such a well-liked person as well.
That's the thing. And he got into that where he goes, I don't understand why they would make these things up about me that weren't true. And I'm like, well, I've lived that life too. It's just bad people. I don't understand why they do these things. And Ted Nolan did return to the NHL as an assistant coach, but he's just got so much to offer. And I will say this, as a recovery coach, without question, I believe that everything happens for a reason. And sometimes it's really, really hard to understand why it's happening, especially when it does happen or afterwards why it did happen, but try and learn the lesson from it and definitely move on because Ted Nolan has, and he's just, like I say, he's got a lot to offer. So back to all the rest of this. I do not want to get mired down in the dumps of what's wrong with the Flames, what's wrong with the Oilers. We've covered that the last couple of days. The fun part of what we've gotten into today is our poll question, which we do every day for Key Auto Group. At Key Auto Group, they're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for more automotive excellence. And the poll question today is, are you into this World Series? Moose and I both voted yes, we are. And to the EMJ marketing text line, Jim writes in from Balgoni, Sask. And he says, hey, RP crew, I'm into the baseball. I was disappointed when the Jays soiled themselves, but any championship series of sports is usually exciting and worth the time. And I will say this again. I don't know if the sports leagues and teams understand that the media does carry their message, because I do believe we're in a fight here in the broadcast world to draw attention to our show and get people to watch, whether it's live or later on, and the teams are in a competition to get you to watch. And I was listening to the radio yesterday here in South Florida, and they were talking about this World Series and the fact that the Texas Rangers had never won a World Series, and that immediately jogged my interest. I'm like, I'm going to be into this to see if they do. And because I'm not the biggest baseball guy. And you said for all the same reasons you're going to be watching the World Series too. But I'm that guy that when my team's out, the Blue Jays, I've been watching all the playoffs. I haven't watched the Game 7s the other night. But people think that people in South Florida are fair weather hockey fans. Well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, Darren. I don't know where you are on that, but if the Panthers are done or the Lightning, they're not watching the rest of it. And I kind of had a very tough time understanding that for quite a while, but now I do get it. And what sports are those for you? Like, obviously, hockey and football are your number ones. Are there others? And for anybody, for that matter, do you only follow it when it's your team? Because that's me with the Blue Jays, really.
For the most part, it's me with the Blue Jays. I think I'm a lot like you in terms of, like, I like to watch championships. So, like, World Series usually gets my, attention. Even the NBA championship can get my attention, the finals. But largely, Raptors are out. I'm not really interested in basketball. Jays are out. I'm not really interested in baseball the rest of the way. That's just how it goes. But when it comes to football and hockey, yeah, it sucks when my team's out. But I keep watching those two sports no matter what, right through to the end.
Well, and this is the one thing. Kirk from Toronto writes in. He's watching on Game Plus. He says, hi, Rod. Hello from a rainy Toronto. Glad to see the players the two clowns traded away to Arizona are in and hopefully win the World Series. Now, I understand that Toronto's a baseball town. They've had the Blue Jays since 1977, so they're going to be watching the World Series in Toronto. I absolutely get this. But a little later on, Moose is taking this show over with the final two segments to go because we got to get out of here. We have a scheduled time in our studio to tape the Cats and Bolts podcast. And here's one thing. I don't know if they'll get it here. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out if they'll get it in South Florida. But one of the questions that came in from the audience was, is the Battle of Florida still a thing? And they're talking about the Panthers and Lightning. And the fact of the matter is, it's gone a little dormant right now. And I would suggest for a period of time, the Battle of Alberta went slightly dormant. But here's the thing. After spending so much time in Calgary the last couple of years and having gone to college there, I can tell you that people wake up every flipping day in that province to see how the Flames or Oilers did the night before and thinking about the game coming up tonight. And in the case of tonight's games, it's the Flames home to the Blues tonight and the Rangers home to the Oilers and the Winnipeg Jets are at Detroit. The guy just wrote in early and said, happy Winnipeg Jets game day. Jets are at Red Detroit, which we said we were going to talk about tonight's game, so let's do that. And Dave Poulin's coming up in the next segment. And then after that, Moose is going to interview Scott Barney. But I saw this headline out of Calgary. I'm sorry, but as I said, we have tons of viewers in Alberta. I saw this headline from Flames Nation, and I love those guys. They follow us, we follow them, but they're like, Flames need new direction. Read this story by Robert Munich. And I'm like, you just fired the coach and the general manager. You're not even 10 games in with the new guys. What new? I didn't even read the article. Because I'm like, what possible new direction could you go other than what you just did in July? What do you think?
He's barely come through the front door. He hasn't even taken his shoes off yet. Give him a chance to get comfortable and sit down and get comfortable with the surroundings. I get it. It's a results-based business, though. You don't have time to get comfortable and get things put in place. You need to have results now. And I get it. They're not happy. And, it's not going to be something that can change quickly. You're not going to make a move. You're not going to change things on your staff for at least a year or two. So you have to be patient. And unfortunately for Flames fans, it tells you that, there's a lot more work to be done still.
Patience is a really ugly thing, but something just popped into my head. Thank you for intuition for putting it there. Everybody wants the immediate results, and it's just not going to happen. Did you actually think that having Craig Conroy as your general manager and Ryan Huska as your head coach is going to produce immediate results? That's not going to happen. Look at me here. I completely changed my life, and it took 2 years. Darren and I have just been talking about this on the phone the last couple of days. It took 2 years for me to build those relationships in Florida and build those relationships in Alberta. It did not come overnight, and now everything's exploding. It takes a while. And I'm not saying it's going to take you 2 years in Calgary or 2 years in Edmonton, although maybe it will with Jay Woodcroft trying to introduce this new defensive system there, but you just need to back off. And the one thing, back to that Ted Nolan interview, I want your take on this, and maybe even Dave Poulin when he joins us next. This is funny, but not funny. The list of Jack Adams Award winners in the National Hockey League, I was reading them off to Darren before the show, and you're like, ooh. It's like the kiss of death if you win it. Bruce Cassidy won it in 2020 with Boston. Fired. Barry Trotz won it in 2019. Islanders. Fired. Gerard Gallant. Need I say more? Dan Bilesma. When's the last time you even heard the name Dan Bilesma? Not to mention Patrick Roy, 2014 in Colorado. Speaking of people that for whatever reason inexplicably can't get back into the National Hockey League. Ted Nolan, 1997. You almost don't want to win this thing.
Yeah. It's wild, to think about those names, and they're all great coaches.
It's 1:11 Eastern. It's 1:11 Eastern. I apologize. It's 1:11 Eastern, 11:11 Mountain. For everybody, including Ted Nolan and Dan Bilesma, envision a positive outcome to the current quagmire you're in. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, like I'm a big Dan Bylsma fan. I love him as a coach. And where is he now, right? And all those guys on the list. Yeah, they're all great coaches. So it is. You don't win that award by accident. You don't fluke out that award. I know the players play the games, but it takes everybody together. It's really a team award, just like the Vezina as well. But no, it is. It's like the kiss of death, and I don't know if you want to win it after you see those results. It's like the President's Trophy. You know, the kiss of death for teams in the playoffs. You don't want to win that one either.
You're just revving me up for our interview with Dave Poulin, which, by the way, Clark, let me know, please, when he logs in from
It's a poll
the
question.
NHL
What's
on
the
TSN
bigger kiss
panel.
of death?
The Jack Adams or the President's Trophy?
Yeah.
Well, literally. By the way, our hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. You know, I've kind of felt like turning this into a meme, but I didn't. The interview with Chris Nolan the other day, I wasn't quite sure if Knuckles was just trolling the Leafs or if he actually believes it, but he says the Leafs players have tuned out Sheldon Keefe. That's what he thinks. He got both base. Who was it? I got too many voices in my head from media sources, but maybe it was Poulin, who said if the Leafs hadn't come back and won in Tampa Bay in overtime the other night, we'd be talking about a 3-game Leafs losing streak and how much they suck. You know?
I know. It's how fickle it is, but also, you know, how fine the line is, too, between, you know, you look at just in Toronto, how fine that line is between this Leafs team being 4-2 and everything's great, or being on a bit of a losing streak and the sky is falling. You know, it's that fine of a line in markets across the NHL.
Moose, Dave Poulin has logged in, so I'll see you a little later. Appreciate you filling in later on in the program.
You bet.
By the way, just a quick note, the Toronto Raptors opened their season last night as they would have liked with a victory. Dennis Schroeder scored a team-high 22 points in his Raptors debut as Toronto defeated Minnesota 97-94. I like this story out of Chicago. Hamilton's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 31 points, and the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Chicago Bulls 124-104 in their season opener. The Bulls had a players-only meeting after the game. 1 game into the season. Is this a new record? Poulin, I want to ask you when we come back, do any of us ever remember when players-only meetings work? Because I say the second they have them, you can start on the season. It's the last rites. And that's 1 game in. The Bulls are having a closed-door, players-only meeting. Wow. Dave Poulin next, and Scott Barney on the way from the Humboldt Broncos. He's the head coach and will coach Team West at the Under-18 World Challenge coming up. We are live on the Game Plus television network, or the Junior A World Hockey Championships in Nova Scotia. We're live on Game Plus television, WQEE radio in Atlanta, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
2 million liters of power creates electricity. Electricity creates.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. 902-518
Hillsview Casino.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
The RP Show continues in South Florida. And by the way, guys, especially you hockey players that follow us, you young hockey players, Manscaped has done it again, introducing the Handyman Facial Razor. It's brand new, not for your junk. It's for up top. And like every Manscaped product, it has tons of thoughts gone into it. Sleek, compact, charges by USB. I'm waving my phone because it's about the size of your iPhone. We all have problems fitting our razors into our shaving kit, right, for road trips? So order yours now at manscaped.com. Use the promo code TheRPShow and get it. Ask for the Handyman. It's for your face. Again, the size of your iPhone, it'll change your life. From Manscaped, we're proud to partner with them this fall. Proud to have Dave Poulin on today. Poulin, the Bruins great, the Flyers great, and finished up with the Washington Capitals. I see you've been making the rounds. NHL Radio, Senators podcast. Thank you for slumming with us today, Poulin.
Well, you know what? I think I'd be a prime candidate for the Manscaped because when you have 250 stitches in your face, you have to plan to shave. You don't just shave. You plan to shave. So we laugh about it, and I had good plastic surgeons, trust me, Rod, and thankfully I did. Of course, as a Philadelphia Flyer, one of the primary positions you have to fill is a good plastic surgeon, correct?
Absolutely. Poulin, that I've never heard that one before. Planning your shaving. I get it. Well, I would invite you to try Manscaped. I appreciate it. Literally, man, I don't even know necessarily where to start with you other than let's start this because you're a Leafs fan from Timmins, Ontario. Knuckles Nyland said on this show the other day that the Leafs have tuned out Sheldon Keefe. Do you think Knuckles was just trolling as the Habs guy, or is there something there?
I don't think they've tuned him out, Rod. I think something that was very smart was changing out the assistant coaches and bringing in Guy Boucher, and Mike Van Ryan. And I think that's an underappreciated part in the NHL is the role of the assistants and how they can augment the head coach. And you don't have to look very far to see championship teams that have changed out assistant coaches, and start with Tampa Bay and John Cooper. And it's a great way to get fresh new voices in with different experiences, but also to challenge the head coach. And in that opening game against Montreal, when they pulled their goaltender with 4 minutes left, 6 minutes left, and they're down by 2 goals and scored right away, that's Guy Boucher. That's the push and the prodding, because the head coach is so immersed in what's happening in a game. He needs assistance within a game to bring points like that to him. So I don't think they've tuned him out. I don't. And, first of all, there's 10 or 12 new Leafs this year. So, almost the whole team is new. You'd be talking about the core four. I don't think that's their choice to tune him out. I really don't. And quite frankly, as much heat as the core four has taken over the last handful of years for their playoff lack of success, they've produced during the regular season at an outstanding rate. They haven't been able to do it in the playoffs, and it's not their fault the way the team is structured.
Yeah, interesting. I watched them here the other night in the Panthers home opener. The Panthers won 3-1, and I couldn't believe, A, how many new faces there were and how many new young faces there were, and then that there wasn't any real pushback or sandpaper in their game because I thought they wanted it. Now, the other thing is, the reason I brought up that I heard you on NHL radio is here in Florida, there's not a lot of NHL talk, so I listened to my guy Scott Laughlin on there, and I love him. And it was great having you on. And they talked about the Oilers with their 3 too many men penalties the other night. I guess that tied an NHL record. And Gabby said it's because they're distracted. They're all on the iPads. They're not paying attention. Is that a thing now?
Tell you what, I would go with, I believe the way Montreal handles, I do a lot of Montreal games. You're allowed on the iPads during the commercial break only. And I think that's the way to do it. I really do. I think that's a compromise. If you want to see something, wait till commercial break. There's 3 of them in a period. And, as much as John Tortorella made a big thing of that, there is a group of players that learn that way. That's how they learn. They've grown up learning visually. That's fine. But I'll take you to Winnipeg and take you to Josh Morrissey handing a stick to Adam Lowry after Lowry had broken one on the ice. And that led to a critical goal for the Jets and a win for the Jets. If Morrissey's got his head buried in an iPad, he's not watching the game. I want you watching the game. I want you invested in the shift in front of you. I want you to know what's going on. I want you ready to go on the ice. I don't want you looking at the TV, at an iPad. I simply don't during a game. So I understand it's important to some players. I would do what Montreal has done and limit it to commercial break.
To be honest, I would even wait till the intermission. Is that a possibility, the intermission, or could they not wait that long?
No, I think in today's learning style, they're so used to the short, quick clips that I don't mind it if you've got the minute at going to it at that point. And, then you've got like 6 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, and the end of the period. So you can squeeze it in. Attention span's not that long for some players. It's simply not. To keep it fresh in their mind, I think that's an excellent option.
I'm watching the furor and listening to it out of Calgary, which I think is unfortunate for Ryan Huska. They haven't even played 10 games. I'm seeing what's happening in Edmonton and every market for that matter. And in a way, we're the problem. You, me, we fuel it. We talk about it. There's so many. Well, what did you say? You're observing, not opining. When do you switch?
Yeah. I know. Well, you know what? It's early. And so I did say that. I said, at this stage, I'm observing. I'm a fan just like everybody else is. And, a night when there's 16 games like there were on Tuesday night. And by the way, I'm working one of those 16 games because everyone in the industry is working one of those 16 games. And you can't follow everything real closely. So you catch up and you look and you see early trends and you watch it. But you also make a note. Okay, I'm going to follow that closely because I may not have an opinion on that yet, but something's going on there. And I wasn't one of the guys that jumped on board that said just because Daryl Sutter was gone and Ryan Huska was in that everything was going to be all good. And I think that's too easy of an out for the players, Rod, to say, well, it wasn't our fault. Well, guess what? It was some of your fault. And, it wasn't just the coach. And so I think the players have to take responsibility. I laughed on my intro when you talked about players-only meetings. When I was a captain, Rod, I grew to hate a players-only meeting when someone suggested. So what eventually happened was I'd say, we're having a players-only meeting. By the way, I'm talking and you're all listening. I don't want to hear you because inevitably the first guy to speak would be the one that should be spoken to the most in the room. And he'd have heard something and he'd be repeating something he heard in a team meeting before and think that was going to solve everything. And I think that's a pretty dire move. Well, dire move after one game to call a team meeting. That's something that's been brewing long before that game, Rod, and it just wasn't aired out. The game gave them an excuse to air things out.
Well, I was remiss in asking you that because I've put this to people, and I've called games for 20 seasons in the CFL and 20 seasons in Major Junior. I've been around a lot of teams. When we get to the players-only meeting, it's over. Like, it's not, I don't know. My question is, what teams turned it around because they had a meeting without the coach there? I've never heard of it.
I think I don't know about turn around. I think there are things that you have to address in the locker room without the coaching. I don't think you tell anybody you're having a players-only meeting. That's the media standing outside saying, well, the coach is in that meeting. But I do think, I'm thinking of the teams I played on in both Philadelphia, where the leadership group was so strong around me with Brad Marsh and the dear departed Brad McCrimmon and Mark Howe and Timmy Kerr and all those guys. Then we got to Boston, and we had Ray Bork, and we had Cam Neely, and we had Gary Galley, and we had guys in that locker room that could take care of things that, quite frankly, the coaches couldn't or didn't even know were going on. So time and place, but not the answer.
Yeah, fair. Hey, well, look, I was watching, call me a nerd if you will, but 87 Stanley Cup final and highlights, and I saw Chychrun. And the reason I bring that up is I see him all the time. He's on Panthers television. You got a story about Jeff Chychrun at all from Philly days that I could use on him, Dave?
Yeah, he's actually responsible for one of these scars we were talking about earlier on a pass that went off the ledge on the board in training camp and ripped my face open. So I do have a story about Jeff Chychrun, but I see Chick now in the buildings. It's great to see him. And, I think about him, and I'm watching Jacob in Ottawa now, and I'm thinking of a young Jeff Chychrun and coming in and really changing the face of the late 80s team. So he and Gord Murphy, and there was an influx late, not the initial group with Tocchet and Zeslin and the Sutter twins in the early 80s, but later on in the 80s when Jeff came in and way too nice a guy to be a tough guy. He was really tough, but way too nice a guy.
Well, this is why I love these chats with you. Last year, Stanley Cup final, we're in the press box, and I hadn't actually met Jeff Chychrun before, and he pops down beside me. This would not surprise you, and you know him this well. I'd never met him, and he goes, Rod? I'm like, yeah. My dad's from Good Eve, Saskatchewan, just outside Melville. Big Rider fans. All of a sudden, we talked the whole game about CFL stuff and that. And by the way, his kid, he's so proud of Jacob. Way more offensive side in Jacob than his dad. Am I right or wrong on that?
No question about it. Way more offensive upside. But here's the key to Jeff. He knew his game. He had the long range, he had the long reach. He was tough. He was a good stay-at-home defenseman. But he knew that, and that's why he fit in and played well.
Oh, yeah, those were some great teams. I think the 80, sorry to bring it up, pick a scab, but are the 87 Flyers not the best team that never won a Stanley Cup? I think they are.
Well, you took one of the best teams to 7 games, so that would be your argument. I actually talked to Heck the other day, Ron Hextall, and because I had proposed him as a solution to the Kuznetsov slow penalty shot situation, we were asked if we thought there should be a rule. And I said, no. And I actually called and told Hex that I said this on TV. I said, all I do is put Hextall in net for one of those penalty shots, and that would be the end of it with Kuznetsov, because he'd meet him somewhere around the top of the circles, and he'd take care of that.
He's not the only guy doing it, though. I can't stand it. Goalie guy here, I liked what the Flower did to Bedard, coming out and tripping him when Connor tried it in the shootout in the preseason, and I'm a Bedard guy. But I just, back to the pressure early on in the season, just on the Flames, because I've spent so much time in Calgary the last 2 years. They're like lighting Huberdeau on fire now, and Kadri and all these guys. And I'm like, it's a revolving door of players and nothing changes. And I look at what Kachuk's done here in Florida. It's a culture thing. I believe that it is. When are they going to stop blaming the players in Calgary specifically?
Well, the players as individuals is one thing, but as the makeup of the group is a total different thing. And you took out Gaudreau and you took out Kachuk, and they were part of the group that made it happen. And you don't know what trickle-down effect they had on other guys in the room, maybe Erasmus Anderson, whatever it may be. But they've changed over some of the key pieces, and it does take time, but it is up to the guys in the room to get it done. You're dealt that hand, and Huberdeau didn't ask to leave Florida. He was part of it. He goes to Calgary. It hasn't worked out for him there yet. Kadri leaves a prime situation in Colorado where he fit perfectly, and they've missed him there. So it wasn't like they all went there for the right reasons because, they just ended up there through trade or because that they followed the money there or whatever it may be. But the makeup of the group as a whole hasn't worked yet. And it's still early. And to a man, the Jacob Markströms of the world also have to step up and do what they did when the team was rolling along well. So that's going to be a tough one. I didn't think it was going to be an instant turnaround because of the coach, and it's proven so far that it hasn't been.
Yeah, I think that we can all agree that it is on the players. I mean, I don't have a problem with the calling out the players, but anything heat at Ryan Huska, I think, is really unfair. And I guess my last question for you is, I just heard that the Oilers are instilling this defensive system that's taking them a while to catch on to, and I hope they are. It's why they didn't beat Vegas last year. Is that a thing in Edmonton, that they're changing their style of play, and that's been a problem latching on to it?
Maybe a little bit easier to answer it that way. Once again, they miss a healthy Matthias Ekholm. I think when he plugged in last year and they were rolling along so well, he didn't come back in full health, and they maybe rushed him back a little bit. That could be part of it. But once again, that team has a lot of the right pieces in place. You need to save as well. And the goaltending is going to be a question until it's not. And last year it wasn't because of Stuart Skinner, not because of Jack Campbell. And Campbell had a good camp and came back ready to go. But you need to keep save at the right time. And, there is a side of having two of the best players in the world where you do build a dependence on them. And, when times are critical, you tend to look that way in the locker room. And, that's just human nature. You look to two of the best. One of them is out right now, and they have to produce at such a high level on an every night basis, but it's up to the rest of the group. And they've got a good supporting cast. I'm a Zach Hyman guy. Evander Kane has to step up right now. And the guys that they put around them, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, another easy one to say, okay, Connor McDavid's not there. You've got to play better.
It's not a bad thing to have to learn these lessons. Dave, I really appreciate these chats all the time. I know you're busy. Thanks for this. Enjoy the hockey.
Always good to join you, Rod.
Thank you. Dave Poulin, Flyers great, Bruins great from TSN. When we come back, I got to scoot, but Moose will interview our good friend Scott Barney, the Barn Dog. He's an NHL veteran and the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos, and he's off to the World Junior A Challenge with Hockey Canada. Talk about all that next. Live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacroix. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Afternoon here on the Rod Pedersen Show. Morning out on the west part of the country as we bring you back in. Darren DuPont along with you here. Look at those sites in Florida. There's not going to be the sites where we're going next as we go to the Rectangle in Saskatchewan and join Scott Barney. He is the head coach of Canada West at the upcoming World Junior A Hockey Challenge. How are you, Scott?
Good yourself, Darren. I guess it isn't that warm here compared to sunny Florida there with Roddy.
No kidding. So give me the update because I'm getting on a plane this evening to come back to Saskatchewan for the weekend. -5 snow. What are you dealing with in Humboldt right now?
I think more like the 10 to 15 range here. And a couple of our players from BC were asking the other day, is this as cold as it get? When it was only about -2. And we said, yeah, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they're, you gotta condition them for, we skip through fall and we go straight from summer right into winter, right?
Yeah, I went from the shorts right into the pants with the winter boots there in one day.
No kidding. Well, congratulations on being appointed head coach of Canada West, the upcoming World Junior A Hockey Challenge, December in Truro, Nova Scotia. When did you get the news? How did you get the news? And what was your first reaction?
Yeah, I got the news about a month ago, right? But I was pretty excited to be able to represent your country. It's always something that you look to do, and the biggest thing is to be able to work with the elite of the elite, right? And it's good for yourself to work with players of that level, and also other coaches as well, right? And looking for the end goal to bring a gold medal here back to Canada and bring back to your league and obviously your home club here in Humboldt.
When you got to Humboldt, I guess, what was on your radar? What were some of the goals you were trying to achieve? And did you think that this would be something that might be in your trajectory to represent Canada?
Yeah, obviously your goal is always to win or be at the highest level. And the biggest thing for us when I came to Humboldt is getting the franchise back going there, obviously from the tragic accident. And, Humboldt has had so much success in previous years, and to be able to get that back to where it was before, and obviously along that way, I think our biggest goal here now is trying to move players on to Division One and youth sports, and I think that's been our biggest goal, and we feel doing that, winning will come with it, and we've had good success in the regular seasons here. Obviously, you usually have one of the younger clubs. I think this year we're probably second youngest in the SJHL, and the more guys we can develop on, we'll get the next guys through the door here, and you can lead that success into my coaching job here with the World Junior A Challenge, and hopefully the success carries over with the hard work we put in, and obviously in the end, the end goal is probably the coach in the NHL, right? And obviously there's some other steps in between that you got to take, and I feel this opportunity in Humboldt has led to future success for sure.
I keep having success, keep checking boxes, keep climbing those stairs, for sure. So what's the next month and a bit look like for you as you get ready for the World Junior A Challenge, and when will you officially take off? Well, what's the process like between now and then?
Yeah, I think it's just more evaluating players, right? And obviously there's players in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. Obviously, the BCHL, with being separated from Hockey Canada, they're not part of it. You know what? The one big obstacle is you can only carry 5 players who are the 19-year birth, so 2004. So that's a difficult challenge as well to pencil those guys in. Obviously, the GM Nigel Dubé will have a big say in it. He was just this past week down in Manitoba at the MJHL showcase, and just trying to fit the right pieces of the puzzle. In the past, there has been different camps. This year, it's only going to be 22 players selected and going right into the one practice and an exhibition game and get right into camp. So makes things a little more difficult, but in the end, you can bring some guys together quickly, and sometimes that's a recipe for success as well.
Okay, be honest. How many of your guys already have been pulling on your coach, to put a good word in? Hey, chance to get on the team because their coach is going to be maybe making some of these decisions.
Yeah, I'm sure a few of them will be doing that, and yeah, they're pretty good. They get it in there, right? And our success has led by our team's success this year, and to our start so far, it's been a great start, but it's been a lot of hard work put in by those guys, and happy for that, and hopefully they all each have their individual success as well.
The viewers can see it. The Humboldt Broncos head coach. You're 8-0-2-1. I believe that's the most updated that I've seen. Tell me about the start to the season and this year's Humboldt Broncos.
Yeah, it's been a great start. Like, if you were to tell me a month before the season that we'd be undefeated in regulation after 11 games, I'd say you'd be joking with me, right? So that's a credit to those guys in the room that have bought in. We have only 8 faces returning from last year, so a lot of turnover. Our leadership has been huge in the room to bring these young guys in. It's been a big part of our culture here in the last years that we've been a part of it, is getting the guys who are young eventually into our leadership roles and see the success we've had. And last night a tough loss in overtime, but to a good Estevan team, and the success has been good. Still early in the season, 11 games in, so we still have a lot of things ahead. But the work ethic for us and the way we skate and compete is a big reason for our success.
Look, Rod and I are both Saskatchewan guys, as you know, and so very proud of that province and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We both came through the league. I start looking at your trajectory to pursue that ultimate goal of the National Hockey League. It's the same with the players, and I think that helps grow the league. So I want to talk about Matthew Van Blaricom, right, being listed by NHL Central Scouting for the draft. That's a big deal, not only for your team, but I think it's a big deal for the entire Canadian Junior A Hockey League. Tell me about him and what it means to have him on this list.
Yeah, it's it's a credit to him, right? He's the one putting in that hard work. He's the one who had a big off season. He's very coachable, which is one big reason he's on there. He listens well. He's one of the hardest workers on our team at the same time. He's a tough Southern Saskatchewan boy as well. He won't just go through you with the puck. He'll go through you with his body as well. He's got an NHL shot. He can go east to west with the puck. There's a lot of things that he brings that a lot of players don't. And I wouldn't be surprised to hear his name called there for the draft. and good thing he's getting some credit. But he's definitely got a lot of talent. He's willing to learn and get better, and that's a big part of it, right? And some guys just think they're there, but he realizes he's got to do a lot of the little things that make the difference for him to be an elite player, and he's definitely doing that.
So how do you capitalize on this, and not just you, but other coaches throughout the league and GMs and different teams in getting more NHL prospects into the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League? Because clearly it's a great development spot for the players, especially when you look at the NCAA Division I route. A guy I keep seeing a lot of right now, I believe with Minnesota, is Justin Close, right? The goaltender of Minnesota came through the Kindersley Clippers. He played in the SJHL, and to see at a high Div 1 level. So how do we continue to grow this and build off the success of guys like Matthew and the next prospect?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is keep trying to get these younger players in early as we can, right? And I know for us, for instance, 2 years ago we had Connor McGrath and Matthew Perkins, both SAS boys on the draft list. They didn't get drafted that year, but Matthew was drafted in the 4th round last year by the Vancouver Canucks, and he was a big contributor here in Humboldt. Sometimes you only get them for a year and lose them, but that's part of development. We're a development league, and our job is to move guys on. And last year, for example, I think we had 5 Division I scholarships, 4 U Sports scholarships, and that's a big season for us. And I think the big reason why it's a success, we're getting these other players that want to be in Humboldt and want to be Broncos, and it's a credit to our whole organization and staff as well. And we believe in a lot of video every day and mentoring these guys, and hopefully we can continue to get more and more younger players in other spots as well in the draft list and promote them into the NHL, NCAA, or even U Sports.
I think that's incredible, and it's only going to grow from here. So a big hats off to you and everybody else in the league for all the success. So I guess, what are you looking forward to the most now, as you get closer to the world, shifting back to the Junior A Challenge and in Truro? What are you looking forward to the most out of that experience?
Yeah, obviously assembling the roster, right? It's going to be huge. Obviously, having some meetings with those players that are having the opportunity to play in that team. Obviously, they're elite players in their own organizations, their home clubs there. Seeing which players are going to be able to play different roles, talking to different coaches on different things they do. Like example, you bring in 20 goal scorers, they're probably not going to work out, right? You need some guys to go to the corners and get those pucks. Obviously, you got to rely on a great goalie to make those saves. Obviously, things are going to happen throughout the tournament where you got to make adjustments. So, just working with these other coaches as well that have success in their own programs and picking their brains. And as coaches, you want to get better just as much as the players do. And I think that's a big thing for me, is just talking with these other professionals as well and seeing what they're doing with their programs.
Scott, we're big fans here, and this is going to be a really exciting time for you. Enjoy it. We appreciate the time today.
Thanks a lot, Darren. Good chatting with you guys. Anytime.
You bet. Scott Barney is the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos and now the head coach of Canada West for the upcoming World Junior A Hockey Challenge coming up December early, the 10th to the 13th, I believe, or 10th to the 17th in Truro, Nova Scotia. Scott Barney, the head coach for Canada. That's going to be great. All right, one more segment to come. Clark, get ready with poll question results. We're going to revisit that. We're going to look quickly at tonight's schedule, put a wrap on the RP show, and we'll probably even check into the text line, see what's going on there, get to your comments as well. So RP show continues on a Thursday afternoon here on WQEE, YouTube, podcasts, and we're live across the country on Game Plus TV.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, ready for overtime hockey lanes in Calgary. It doesn't look like that in Saskatchewan or most of Western Canada. That's what the shot is live in Florida right now. Beautiful day there. Looking out the window in the GTA, kind of cloudy, rainy, but overall a nice fall day, about 20 degrees or so. Everything's still nice in red, yellow, orange, and green, but not in Saskatchewan, Alberta. I think parts of Manitoba, too, dealing with lots of snow, but I'll be experiencing that this weekend as I get set to head back to the rectangle here tonight. Let's go to the text line for a second. Jim Wagner writes in 902-518-3033, the number to text the show. You got a couple of minutes to get last thoughts in on the day. The Dupes Show, he says. I like it. Approved. Rob Bruce also writes in. He says, hey, Rod, love the show. In the famous words of Harry Neal, I don't want to be coach of the year. I just want to be coach for a year. Have a great day. That's Robbie Bruce. Yeah, not bad. Rod mentioned all the coaches that one coach of the year no longer in the league anymore, and I don't know if it's a curse or not. Paul Jefferson says, congrats, Scott, well-deserved. Talking about our last guest, Scott Barney, being named head coach of Canada West, the upcoming World Junior A Hockey Challenge. And Jeff in Calgary says, what? When they said Scott Barney was joining, I thought they meant Scott Barnaby. And Clark, do you know who Scott Barnaby is? I don't. I think he means Matthew Barnaby, yeah. But I Googled Scott Barnaby. Scott Barnaby, 54 years old, from Port St. Lucie, Florida. He plays at the Galloping Hill Golf Course. He was the 2015 Player of the Year on the New Jersey section of the PGA of America. How about that? He was tied for fourth at the Pro Championship at the Galloway National Golf Club. So how about that? A couple T70s. Pretty good golfer on the PGA Tour. If that's the Scott Barnaby you were hoping was on the show today, and we're really excited, probably not going to get him on anytime soon, but feel free to Google him and look at his profile. We did think it was actually Matthew Barnaby for a second. His name came up in our pre-show meeting. What else is going on? Rod, yeah, I want to go to those poll questions, but just want to check in on the YouTube chat here for a second. A lot of stuff going on in here. WQEE, I think that's Rhino Radio. Another great RP show. On to Football Friday. Yeah, there's Jeff. Sorry, Matthew Barnaby. Okay, poll question. World Series kicking off or getting started. Are you a fan, or are you going to be following the World Series? I believe, Clark, I checked on YouTube, it was 71% no last time I checked. Still the same? Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty similar on Twitter. Ron Thompson writes in, great show. Flames should work on a rebuild and go for a high draft pick. Okay. Sent with a slam effect. Well, maybe. And John Kirby in Edmonton says, why can't a team be sponsored by a betting firm and have their sticker on the helmets, but a player gets suspended for sports betting? That makes no sense. It's money coming in. Last minute of play in the RP show. It's different than players betting on sports because players have a direct outcome on what's going on in sports. If a player is even sponsored by a sports betting agency, it's fine. But if they're betting on it, now you have to wonder if they're influencing results, especially if they're betting on, games that they're involved in. That's even worse. But games around the league, there's just so much negativity that can come with it. I just don't think you want to get involved in it. I really don't. Clark, who's on tomorrow? Jim Barker and Daniela Ponticelli will get into the CFL tomorrow and tee up the final week of the regular season, start to tee you up for the playoffs, and a whole lot more. Until then, thanks for watching. Darren Dupont here, and we will see you tomorrow on the RP Show, noon Eastern, 10 a.m. Mountain, right here on Game Plus TV.
Who has more fun than us?